Someone who invests and stuff. So now today we're talking about your investments. So right now, during these times of chaos, things that are happening in the world, a lot of people are worried about their investments and what to do. Well, Marshall Clay is with the Welch Group, one of our regular guests here on Good Day Alabama, to talk about that. Good morning.
That's right. Good morning.
So we're talking about anytime there's a terrorist attack or any kind of thing that happens in the world, it does affect Wall Street and investments around the world.
It does. That's right, Janice. And really, as investors, particularly in the stock and bond market, there are countless events out there that can cause us to sort of question our investment strategies. But really, a lot of those events are outside of our control. So what's important is to focus on what you can control. So let me give you some examples of some things that you can control.
The one thing you say is control your risk.
Absolutely. The first thing is to control your risk. And so to do that, as a typical investor, you need to determine exactly how much risk you need to take in order to meet your long-term investment goals.
I guess it depends on where you are in life, right?
Exactly. You know, most people, the big long-term investment goal is retirement. So, you know, if I were to tell you, look, you can have a 50% allocation to stocks and get to your long-term investment objectives, and you actually were maintaining 100% allocation to stocks, I would argue that you're, taking an unnecessary risk with about 50% of your portfolio.
So these are the times that you might need to talk to someone if you don't already have a financial advisor. And you're not saying spend a lot of money. I mean, you can get advised.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so one of the other things that you can control is really your understanding of the underlying companies and securities that you actually own. And you would be really surprised at the lack of understanding out there for most average investors, particularly when you're dealing with mutual funds, because they're a little bit more complicated, but you also see it with individual stocks as well. So if you're managing your own money, take a little bit extra time to really study those underlying securities and figure out how they actually make money.
There are more tools out there today than ever before to be able to do that.
Absolutely. There's a lot of online tools. If you're actually working with an investor, make sure, or an advisor, excuse me, if you're actually working with an advisor, hold that advisor's feet to the fire. Make sure that they're clearly articulating the investment strategy that they've implemented on your behalf and how that strategy is actually helping you achieve your long-term investment goals.
Now, this last point that you want to make, and it makes me think of, and we know all of us aren't investors that invest every day. We have 401ks, and that money's out there being invested. And a lot of times we just let it stay there and we don't worry about it. But then in these kind of times, people do start worrying, saying, I'm afraid to even look at my 401k. You say control your emotions, though.
Absolutely.
What do you mean by that?
Absolutely. So what I mean by that is, and it really ties into the previous two things that I mentioned, that, I get it. It's tough out there, especially when you're having big pullbacks and big corrections in the stock market to maintain your composure. But if you really know the amount of risk that you have to take in order to meet your long-term investment objectives, and you have some detailed understanding of what it is that you actually own, you're far better prepared to sort of keep those emotions in check and not make the irrational investment decisions, which typically lead to bad investment outcomes.
And I guess the thing is, in the long run, we're all in this together, and everybody watches the markets to see what they do, because it really does affect the world.
That's right. I mean, a lot of what we're doing here is we're putting a lot of faith that Western society will continue to thrive and grow longer term. But you're right, we are all in this together. But if you have a plan and you have a process, you'll be far better prepared to sort of get through those turbulent times, which we're certain to come here in the future.
All right. Marshall Clay, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.